Hi, everybody. Welcome to English Digest. I'm Tom.
Hi, I'm Stephanie.
It's our unit on history, and of course, we could be talking about the history of the world, the various empires that have existed throughout history, but today we're going to talk about something that makes countries and empires makes them work, and that is money. Money, money, money. The history of money.
That's right. Long ago, we actually didn't have the printed dollars and the printed NT or even coins. People used to just trade things with each other. Depending on what you had to offer somebody else, they would offer, something to you that they either made or grew or maybe do a service for you. We're going to talk about how money has evolved over time and where it looks to be going in the future. But first, guys, we're going to go ahead and read through today's unit, day 1 that is, and then we'll be back to talk about it.
Money is an inevitability of life. Some people are in desperate need of it, while most of us simply want a little more. But what are the origins of money, and what future awaits it? Early humans gave and shared food without the need for recording its value. However, as groups settled in one place, individuals acquired more possessions and bartered for what they needed. For instance, a hunter might trade deer meat for vegetables, clothing, or tools. This economic system had its limitations, though, and it became necessary to have something that not only represented value to everyone, but kept its value indefinitely. One of the first currencies was cowrie shells, used in China as far back as 3,000 years ago. Later, the Chinese replaced these with precious metals such as bronze. Ancient Babylonian kingdoms used chunks of silver called shekels, which had standard weights to ensure fair trading. Coins came later both in China and in the ancient Greek kingdom of Lydia. However, carrying large amounts of metal around was inconvenient, so it wasn't long before paper money was invented. It was first used in Tang Dynasty China, though it was centuries before the practice caught on in Europe. Paper money could be exchanged for gold or silver, but eventually paper money was considered to have value of its own. As technology improved, paper money too began to seem unnecessary. The first bank-issued credit cards appeared in the U.S. in 1946, and these were followed by debit cards. Now, with numerous forms of electronic payments available, businesses and even entire societies are leaving cash behind.
Okie dokie, we're going to be talking about money, at least the history of money, for the next couple of days. Our first sentence is that money is an inevitability of life. If something's inevitable, which is an adjective, it just means it's going to happen. Buckle up. It's certain to happen. Something you can't avoid if it's inevitable. When I read this sentence, Tom, I immediately thought of you because you like to talk about death. And I thought, that's an example sentence there. Death is an inevitability of life. Everybody dies. It's just when is the question, but we all have to leave this planet or this life at one point. So money is something that you really have to deal with, at least in this particular period of time. We're going to talk about history and how before they really didn't use money at first. They would just share food that they needed to stay alive and eat.
Indeed. And maybe I do talk about death, but I would rather talk about money. If it were possible, I would love to take it with me after I die. I think most of us would. But in any case, yes, what's happening with money and what's next for money again? It's unavoidable. It's an inevitability of life. Be careful. That is the noun form there.
Yeah.
Inevitable is the adjective. Hey, it's inevitable that you and John are going to get together. You are soulmates. You're going to be married. It's inevitable. It's unavoidable. So yes, you might be in desperate need of it. You really need it. That's what desperate means here. That means you really need something. If you don't have it, you're not going to survive. But most of us simply want just a little more. But what are the origins of money and what future awaits it? And here we've got the verb to await, which basically means to wait for something, but it's a little more literary here.
Yeah, I mean, you could simply substitute wait for instead of using wait. But sometimes you'll often see this, especially in writing. Happiness awaits you once you grow up and find somebody that you love, or working every day awaits you, which is something that kids think sounds like it's fun when they're little, but once you have to actually get out there and just go to work every day, it's not quite the same. But honestly, it means the same thing as wait for. So what awaits you, or what future awaits it? So we're going to be talking about the origins of money, where it came from. Move on to the next paragraph. It says, early humans gave and shared food without the need for recording its value. We know in really early history, they really didn't write anything down, but they didn't really feel like they needed to keep track of who, provided what type of food, and did somebody else provide the same amount? Were things fair? They would just share the food that they either hunted for or grew with each other. There weren't as many people on the planet back then.
Indeed. So, yeah, they didn't really have money. They just basically traded.
Yeah.
If you had food, then you'd give it to somebody else. Here, I've got some corn here, but I'd like to have your apples. I'll trade you 2 cobs of corn for 2 apples. It was quite simple, so they did not need to write anything down. However, as groups settled in one place, individuals acquired more possessions and bartered for what they needed. So, yeah, you've got the essentials in life. You've got food and you've got drink, and you can kind of share those or trade them. But eventually you started getting other things that were more valuable that maybe they weren't things that you could eat. Okay, maybe you had a diamond ring or something, or a collection of precious stones or something like that, or a wheel that you could transport yourself around on. So those are possessions, things that you own, and usually as you get richer, you get more possessions. Okay, and acquire just means to get them.
Yeah, and usually with acquire, these days we like to use it when someone's actually buying something or obtaining something for themselves. So, yeah, individuals acquired more possessions and bartered for what they needed. Barter is just another word for trade. You give me this, I'll give you this. So they kind of negotiated with their fellow human beings at that point to come away with what they needed and to, not give up everything they had. You had to be smart as you were bartering. Actually, my dad, he's an attorney, and some of his clients can't pay him real money or cash. So they'll often say to my dad, well, I'll fix your roof. Or there was one client who came over and cut all our palm trees. So my dad will often let them barter with him, which is something you can still do today. You don't have to demand that you have money paid to you. You can exchange some favors, or like my dad does, some work in different areas. So for instance, here is an example of what they used to do. There might be a hunter, and he went out and hunted for some deer, and he came back with deer meat. But eating meat without any other vegetables or even carbohydrates like grains, that would get a little old. So he would trade his deer meat with others for vegetables, farmers who had grown some crops, maybe clothing. Maybe he needed a new pair of pants. He would trade for that, or some tools. Yeah, tools are important too.
Yeah, so I suppose this means people evolved beyond the hunter-gatherer stage. Instead of going out there and picking fruits and killing animals and using it all amongst yourselves, they started to specialize. You be a hunter, I'll be a farmer, I'll be a blacksmith or whatever, and then we will trade these things around. But, it's kind of more difficult to trade things like that. But again, if he's got lots of deer meat there, he would like to have some vegetables and something to wear to keep him warm in the winter, and some tools to help build his house or whatever. And this economic system had its limitations, though, and it became necessary to have something that not only represented value to everyone, but kept its value indefinitely. So yeah, you could trade, like how much is a pound of deer meat worth? Well, it's probably worth about maybe 6 or 7 heads of lettuce or something. Oh, this is getting confusing. We need a new system. This is how our economy works, how we trade goods and services, and economic is the adjective form of economy there. So this economic system did have its limitations. Yeah, it became confusing, so they needed to have some sort of accounting system, something that represented the value of these things to everyone, and I suppose that's where the idea of the pound, the dollar, the peso, the yuan, all these sort of things came from that need.
I wanted to mention with this word, I know in Taiwan your KK tells you that this has only one pronunciation, economic, but a lot of people say economic. Although if you do see the noun economy, we always do say economy. We don't say economy. I've never heard that. So yeah, they had some limitations in their system. So they needed to come up with something else that they could actually have it represent money, even though it wasn't valuable in and of itself. But, they needed a different way to represent what they were trying to barter with or trade with other people. And they came up with this idea of using cowrie shells as a currency. Now, today, we typically are using paper money and coins made out of metal, or some people are actually using gold and silver itself. My sister insisted I buy some gold and silver this year in case, our currency becomes worthless because we keep borrowing too much money. So back then, the first currency wasn't gold or silver. It was actually shells, cowrie shells. And these were used in China as far back as 3,000 years ago, a long time ago.
And we'll continue to talk about the evolution of money in just a couple of seconds, but let's take a break right now and listen to our Chinese teacher.
Hello, my name is Shelby. 现在中文讲解。今天看看钱的历史。钱是不可或缺。第一段第二句，有些人热切追求，中间有个片语 in need of something， 需要点点点。Desperate 形容词，热切的，用来形容 need， 表示热切需求。然而，有些人只要更多些。While 是副词连接词，表示然而、反之。句子上下意思相反的时候，多用 while 或者是 whereas whereas 来连结。第三句，又有什么未来在等他呢？ Await 等待，后面加受词或者是 VING， 不用介系词 for。例如说 await the outcome， 等待结果。第二段第二句 However， 随着群体在一个地方定居，人们以物易物。动词 acquire 获得，后面加受词 to acquire knowledge 获得知识。有另外两个拼字很像，第一 inquire INQUIRE 询问 inquire his whereabout 询问他的下落。第二个 require REQUIRE 要求。 possession 是名词，持有拥有。Take possession of a car 就是拥有一辆车，它后面如果加个 s 表示财产。Barter 以物易物 Barter A for B， 例如说他用他的邮票来换取 Lisa 的漫画 He bartered his stamp for Lisa's comics。 例如猎人用鹿肉换蔬菜。第四句，不过这种经济体系有局限性。Though 放在句尾表示然而，相当于 however nevertheless， 和放句首当虽然的时候意思不一样。因此呢，就变得很必要拥有某个对每个人都有价值的东西。That 形容子句中的动词 represent 代表，后面加受词，相当于 on behalf of somebody or on behalf of something。例如说 A barrister represents me， 一个律师代表我。句尾 indefinitely 无限期的，不过拿掉句首 in 变成 definitely， 别翻成有期限的哦。Definitely 是确切的， He is definitely coming， 他一定会来的。第三段第一句，最早的货币之一是保罗壳，是华人使用 currency 货币或流通， strong currency 强势货币， foreign currency 外国货币，或者 wide currency 广泛传播。
We're going to take a quick break. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Okay, let's continue our discussion about money. We left off talking about currencies or a unit of exchange, something that you can use to represent a product or service in a transaction. Okay, that's what a currency is. And of course, there are various currencies around the world, the Korean won, the Russian ruble. But in any case, these are all examples of currencies. And the first one that I guess we know about is a shell from a crustacean, a creature that lived in the sea. And of course, shells are quite common. People collect them. And cowrie shells are very beautiful. They're conical. They come in lots of colors. So they used those as currencies way back in China and way back 3,000 years ago.
Yeah.
So that was a long time ago.
Well, later, the Chinese replaced these with something else, something that's come to be more valuable in today's world, which are precious metals. We've talked about gold and silver. There's also bronze, which is kind of a yellowish-brown color. It's got some copper in it. But, yeah, you can often find, I don't know, like vases made out of bronze. Bronze was a big popular metal long ago. So they started replacing their shells, which were really very valuable, with these precious metals. Now, ancient Babylonian kingdoms used chunks of silver called shekels. And actually, it's funny, you'll still see that word today, whether it's in a play or something. I know we've talked about shekels before. If you read the Bible, you'll see that word shekels. It had standard weights, so they made sure all of the shekels, or this chunks of silver, weighed the same, so the value would be the same as well. And we're still actually trading precious metals today. Now, coins came later, both in China and in the ancient Greek kingdom of Lydia.
Okay, so those are some examples in which we had coins. Of course, China is always kind of the leading country with a lot of inventions, so they were the first to use coins, or one of the first in any case. And also there was a kingdom in ancient Greece called Lydia. Of course, Greece has had lots of different kingdoms that came and went, but here we've got one called Lydia, and they used coins as well. Now let's move on to the next paragraph here. It says, however, carrying large amounts of metal around was inconvenient, so it wasn't long before paper money was invented. So even nowadays, I don't like to carry around large amounts of change because, you know, I often buy things at 7-Eleven or whatever, so they give you change and it kind of accumulates in your pocket. In fact, I've got, I must have like maybe 4 or 5 coffee cans of $1 NT coins that I've collected over the years. I need to take them down to the bank. So that's, you get the point there. Carrying all that metal around is inconvenient. It's heavy. It falls out of your pocket. It causes holes to form in your pockets. So, of course, we started to use paper money, which was first used in Tang Dynasty, China.
Yeah, me too. I'll get so many coins in my purse that it becomes really heavy. I'm like you. I take my coins out at the end of the day and I put them in bags. So I have bags of 10 NT, 5 NT, and 1 NT. I turned in my 1 NT about 6 months ago. I had over 16,000 NT dollars.
Ooh, that much?
Yeah, they're heavy. And my bank isn't very close, so I have to carry it. So,
wow,
yeah.
It's quite heavy, yeah.
Yeah, but it's fun to turn them in and see how much you have. Yeah, because you end up saving a lot of those coins.
They'll take them. They will, or they will refuse. No, we don't want all those coins. What are you doing?
This went over a span of like 3 weeks. I kept turning in coins like every other day. And every time they'd see me, they'd go, oh no, there's that foreign girl with the coins. And they kind of take turns because no one wants to count the coins, even though they have that machine. It's kind of a pain. But they were very nice to me.
It takes a long time to count those coins. So, yeah, don't bring in 16,000 NT dollars worth of coins. There'll be people waiting in line behind you, and they'll be really angry looking at their watches going, when is this going to finish?
No, I would go when the bank wasn't so busy.
That's a good idea. But you get the point here. Carrying large amounts of coins around is inconvenient. So, of course, they started to use paper money, and it was first used in China during the Tang Dynasty, though it was centuries before the practice caught on in Europe. Go figure, Europe is always behind China there. I guess when Chang'an City was flourishing, London was just a swamp or something like that. But in any case here, yeah, it would take the Europeans quite a while for this practice to catch on. So caught on is the past tense of the verb phrase starts to catch on, which means it gets accepted and starts being used more often.
Yeah, and sometimes it gets really popular too. But yeah, if something catches on or something caught on, you know that people started accepting it more and more widely. So it did catch on in Europe. Paper money could be exchanged for gold or silver, but eventually paper money was considered to have value of its own. Now, eventually here just means in the end or after a while, you know. For the most part, even when we had cowboys in America in the 1800s, they still weren't using much paper money. They still wanted that coin. They wanted those coins, but they get heavy. And it was easy to steal as well because you could usually rob the stagecoach, you know, as it was traveling from one city to another. But eventually, paper money was considered to be valuable just on its own, and it still is today. So as technology improved, paper money did too, but it began to seem unnecessary. People are still making counterfeit or fake paper money. You know, they double check it every time you give somebody 1,000 NT dollars here, which they should. It's easy to counterfeit, but it's suddenly become less and less necessary. We have different methods now.
Yep, and those different methods include credit cards and debit cards. And now we're getting electronic currency, which is something else, which we'll talk about in just a second here. But hey, going back to 1946 in the United States, we had the first bank-issued credit cards. Again, they appeared in the U.S. in 1946, just after World War II. So you all know what a credit card is, and these are issued by banks. Bank issued. Here we've got the verb to issue, which means they are the ones who make this thing and then they make it available to people. So they released these credit cards, they made them available. You could apply for them and show the bank your tax records or whatever so they could trust you to use a credit card. So yeah, they came out way back in 1946. That is a credit card, sometimes referred to as plastic. Are you going to pay in paper or plastic today? Oh, I'll pay with my credit card. I'll pay with plastic.
They're not talking about bags, you know, when you go to the grocery store, paper or plastic. Yeah, plastic, you're actually borrowing money that you don't have to buy something. And with that credit card, you're promising the bank you'll pay them off. Debit cards are different. You already have cash in your account. So when you use your debit card, there is real money in your bank account. You're not borrowing from anybody. You're just using the money that you put into your checking account or savings account. That's the difference between a credit card and a debit card. And then there is kind of a mixture of cards. I have a credit card that's issued by the bank, but it actually just goes in and takes from my own savings account. So yeah, there are just different ways to buy things nowadays. It says here now with numerous forms of electronic payments, including the yo-yo ka. Here, that's another way you can pay for things. Businesses and even entire societies are leaving cash behind.
Yep, so we've got different ways to make these payments, electronic payments. And though here in Taiwan, though, cash is still king. Oftentimes, if I make a major purchase of something like a new TV or something, or a new phone or whatever, they almost always insist on a cash payment. Can I play with my credit card? Could I swipe my card? Oh, no. We only take cash only, which is kind of unusual because usually in other areas, Taiwan is pretty high tech. But the cash thing, y'all just don't want to let go of that. Everything is in cash, or most things are in cash.
I think it's smart, even when I know they're going to try to push us into all electronic, but I'm going to keep some cash. I think that will help you in the future. You know, things can suddenly go crazy and your money could be taken from some hacker. I think I'm going to keep some cash on me anyway, even though they're trying to push us into all electronic. Right now, though, we're going to take a few minutes, listen to our Chinese teacher, and then we'll be back.
第二句，后来用青铜来取代，动词片语 replace A with B， 以 B 代替 A， 后面的 precious 珍贵的相当于 valuable valuable 或者是 expensive 来形容 metals 金属。第三句 巴比伦使用叫做 shekel 的白银，它具有标准，以确保公平交易。shekel 是古希伯来的货币，或者是重量单位，大约是1/4盎司。中间我们又看到 chunks of， chunk 一大块， a chunk of meat 一大块肉，我们引申为大量的。那之后呢，硬币在中国和利里亚王国出现。第4段，然而携带金属不方便，因此不久之后就发明钞票。It wasn't long before 用 it is 加一段时间，再加 since 或 after 或 before 子句，表示自从或之后或之前什么事情花了多久时间。例如，他们搬到这里3年了。It is 3 years since they moved here。下一句的后半，数世纪后钞票才在欧洲流行。It was centuries before 也是相同的句型。我们继续在这句 practice 当风俗习惯。Caught on 原型 catch on 抓牢或流行。The song is catching on 这首歌正流行。好，我们到第5段，进入了现代世界。随着科技的进步，钞票似乎也不必要了。第2句，第一张银行发行的信用卡出现，接着是金融卡。Bank issued 是 bank 加 issue 发行的 PP 形成的复合形容词，来修饰后面的 credit cards。后面的 debit cards debit 是商业用语，指借方。debit cards 可领钱或者是在店面付钱的金融卡。最后一句，现在有电子支付，企业等都将现金抛在脑后。句子最后的片语 leave behind 遗留。如果我 leave my pen behind 就是忘了带笔。小孩跟在妈妈背后追，大哭着说 Don't leave me behind 别把我丢下。以上是今天的讲解，谢谢收听。
Okay, that's all for today, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. But, we all love money, and one day is simply not enough to talk about the history of money, so we're going to continue talking about it again next time in the next edition of our program. So please join us then. From all of us here at English Digest, I'm Tom.
I'm Stephanie.
Goodbye.
Bye.